Stellar Crown dropped about a year and a month ago today. And I mean, it was a pretty interesting set. It had some good cards, it has some overlooked cards, but unfortunately, it was mainly used as a dump set for a huge slew of Japanese starter decks. These starter deck cards being the bulk of the set means that, unfortunately, Stellar Crown did not really perform that well monetarily, nor did it perform super well as a cohesive set. I personally was not excited for this set to come out when it first got revealed, knowing that most of the cards were just going to be bulk and like really bad bulk at that. But I do still remember having certain cards I was excited to get my hands on, and a couple cards that I've used and really enjoyed using. So I'm here today just to kind of give a fresh overview. It's had a year to simmer, so let's see what Stellar Crown did to GLC. Starting strong, one of my favorite cards from this set is Ledian. Glittering Star Pattern is essentially like double at home. It does have some upsides compared to double though. I mean, it has 90 HP itself, so it is level ball searchable. It has free retreat. The attack isn't that bad. And most of the things you want to gust are already going to be around the 90 HP frame. It gives you a lot of utility all around the board. I mean, if you can get the attack off, that plus Lilligant or Muscleband is going to get you KOs through Marshadow. Or, just having a free retreat is just so nice. Being able to get a gust like that, especially when you have cards in your deck like Dipplin and Jump Bluff that could take double attacks, you could get some really dumb plays with this card. Next, we have Cradily. I don't necessarily think that Cradily is like actually that crazy, but I do think that Special Condition Grass is pretty underrated right now, and especially with the inclusion of Forest of Vitality, I feel like you could get this to work, and it is a really nice wall breaker. Most of the rest of Grass and pretty much all of Fire are just straight up bulk. Like 1 for 50 on low kicks is like one of the better cards in Grass this set besides the two I talked about. That's bad. That's really bad. Caracosta in Water is an interesting card. Now that we have Tortuga from Black Bolt and White Flare, I feel like it would just never be worth to evolve into a Caracosta at this point. But having an ability that buffs damage in water is pretty cool because they don't have much of that. I always keep the Dreadnought in the back of my mind. Impervious Shell, preventing all damage done to you that does 200 or more. One day GLC will be power crept so hard that Impervious Shell actually works fairly often. It would be so funny. Joltik is probably one of the best cards in this set. I mean, Jolting Charge is just such a strong attack, and this little run was one of the reasons why Amazing Raikou got banned, so even without Amazing Raikou, who synergized perfectly with this card, you're still seeing it around a decent amount in just generic Lightning Spread. I have seen people use Zero Aura before. I can't exactly say that it's like the craziest card, but it does fill a spot if you absolutely need a basic attacker. Slowking isn't really good in GLC per se, but it is worth giving him his flowers here because it's a very fun card, and it's been like a niche deck in Standard ever since it came out. Especially because, Standard isn't type locked like we are in GLC. So you're able to just use Kyurem. Just put Kyurem on top of your deck and do 110 to 3. Like, sure, it's so funny. Now, here comes a big gun, right? So when I first talked about this set in the intro, I'd assumed that a couple people would be like, oh, I shouldn't expect anything good to be coming from this really then. Nah, Iron Boulder came out this set, who is like the cornerstone of basic attacking and psychic now. I mean, the numbers on him are just insane. I mean, 140 HP on a basic. You have future tagged if you ever wanted to, use the booster capsule. 170 damage for psychic colorless, and all you have to do is just match hand sizes with the opponent, which is basically like a fun mini game in the middle of your game. Iron Boulder was for sure the best Pokemon to come from this set. A couple of them are like good, but this one is defining, very, very meta defining, used in pretty much every competent and competitive psychic deck. I mean, he just power crept Psychic's basics immediately as soon as he released, because the main competition you have is Necrozma and you have Mewtwo, right? And they're both still gimmicky, but they both have worse numbers than him in general. Plus, it's so interactive matching your hand size to your opponent. It adds just a whole huge blanket of skill expression and fun into that deck. He could, be your entire deck. You could just loop him infinitely. Or he could be just like a piece of your deck. You know, he covers every option. And he also just has so much strong synergy with the type in general, you know? You have great synergy with Gallade, you have great synergy with Gardevoir, Shining Arcana, you have great synergy with Xatu. They have the new Mystery Garden Stadium, could actually be really good with him. And of course, you're attacking for 1 Psychic with Dimension Valley in play. I know that segment was long for Boulder, but when a card of this caliber comes in a set that is this generally bad, I gotta just talk about it. Next we have Rhyperior. I mean, Wide Wall is a great ability. Drill Run is a pretty good attack. It's got 200 HP, which is hulking for a stage 2. I mean, fighting just got so much better recently, so like, this card could see an uptick in play. Of course, you know, it depends on if the deck can actually function and you're not just opportunity costed out by like Dogi piles and RDT and other things like that. I know people have tried using Phalanx in the past, and it is a pretty fun card. I mean, you have Call for Family for 2, which is one of the strongest attacks to have on a basic, and then you have an attack that builds off of that, which can pretty easily pick up a KO in the early game. The only issue is that now you have Soul Rock to pick up your KOs in the early game, and you already set up so efficiently in fighting at this point to where it's probably not needed. Here is one of my favorite cards of Stellar Crown, which is Devouring Mouse Swalot. This card was the cornerstone of what is probably my most prolific deck that I've built. That deck being Bye Bye Bench Beat Dark. It has officially been quote-unquote killed off ever since the Twin and DCE bans. I don't think that it functions as well as it used to anymore. But to, you know, roll it back to the actual topic, Swalot was one of the main reasons that deck even functioned in the first place. Having that attack, doing 1 for 170, if not more, you know, depending on the energy you attach to it, so nice. It was really strong, it was really flexible, you know, it got me so many KOs. I remember vividly taking a KO on a Charizard, a benched Charizard, which is the perfect 170 for 1. That was one of the best feeling Swalot knockouts I could have ever conceivably gotten. It had really strong synergy with the fact that I was running multiple double energies to fulfill my other costs as well. And I do think that this card has the potential to still be good, especially with Ignition energy dropping, because now you have Ignition and Triple Excel. You could use that to kind of buff Swalot for a turn and give him like a huge attack. 170 is a pretty good number to hit. I mean, that's getting you like a Fighting Fury Belt KO on a 130 HP basic, and it's just getting a lot of like stage 2 KOs as well. I really love this card, and I'm hoping that I will get to be able to play it again, and I think I will. I'm keeping my eye on Dark, especially with Phantasmal Flames. I think that you should also keep your eye on this card. The reason why I brought up Bye Bye was because in the same set, we also had Grimmsnarl, which was the other big piece to the deck actually functioning. Typically, I took a lot of prizes early, so I would, you know, be very aggressive. I would get like an Alolan Meowth or just like have early Swalot and just have a lot of pressure like that. So in the late game, it was really nice to have Grimmsnarl to use Golden Grab and essentially force a prize to be taken. It being a stage 2 did make it kind of difficult to get out, and of course, without the double energies, it becomes very difficult to attack with it in one turn as well. It might be worth taking another look at and bringing it back with the new supporter card, Grimsley's Move, I believe it's called, in Phantasmal Flames, but I would be a little more inclined to be playing Swalot over a card like this, especially a card that you can only get off of Grimsley. Now, of course, you can just use like the Impidimp and the Morgrim and then, you know, use Grimsley with Max Revive to get it back. I just don't really see it being worth it. It's difficult to get stage 2s out in Dark, and it's just very gimmicky. I do still love the card a lot, and I would still consider it to be like worthy of building around. I just want to see how Dark shakes down before, you know, something like that gets considered. Metal actually had a pretty good set in Stellar Crown. I mean, you have Meltan and Melmetal. I'm bringing up Meltan because I believe it's the best one. But Melmetal Reforged Axe doing 3 for 250 is really big. This card kind of is just like a huge stat stick. Like 160 HP on a stage 1, that's rivaling stage 2 numbers on average. and it has really strong synergy with cards like U-Turn Board, which a lot of decks will use. You know, you used Reforged Axe, you just discard the U-Turn Board off of you, put it back to hand. Now you're not, you know, burning your tools. That's an infinite loop as long as they don't hand disrupt you. It might be a little clunky because it is a lot of energy you have to attach, and, you know, it's not as good. You know, you could get locked out by just not having a tool, and then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Hit 2 for 50? Probably not. So it's not like game breaking for Metal, but it's a very nice card to have access to. Speaking of nice cards to have access to, Arcaludon, it's got a great ability, it's got great stats, it's got a great attack, it's got a good pre-evo that rivals basics that people play in this type. This was one of the bigger buffs that Metal has gotten in the past year, for sure. It's just a very, very solid card all around. Not a card that, you know, everybody has to use or every Metal deck has to use, but for sure a great option to have. Now, the only dragon card in this deck actually shook up the meta so much that it forced pretty much everybody to change the basics that they were using, that card being Raging Bolt. This is for sure, like, hands down one of the best basic attackers in the entirety of GLC. It was pretty much neck and neck on the good scale with Iron Boulder in this set. I can't tell which one of them's number one because they both did stuff to the meta, but Bolt was very, very, very big on meta changes. The change that he induced on the format was via his first attack, Thunderburst Storm, which states that it does 30 damage per energy attached to him to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Now, a lot of people were using 60 HP evolving basics for their decks, right? Whether it's because the card looked cool, or the attacks were good, or whatever. 60 HP and 70 HP kind of coincided with each other because there was nothing really threatening 60 HP until now. Dragon has a high prevalence to attach multiple energies in a turn, and then they also have their own double rainbow energy and double dragon. So Raging Bolt players were able to immediately start the game and high roll, and if they hit a card like Guzma and Hala, they could find a Stadium plus a tool card to buff Raging Bolt and the double dragon energy, and just snipe for 60 on turn 1 going second. If you're hearing this and thinking like, wow, that's broken, it's because it is broken, but it's not so broken that it ever needs to get banned, I don't think. Raging Bolt is just a very strong card that pushed a change that eventually should have been happening. Everybody should have been really playing 70 HP, it's just generally better, and you know, that's the cap that you can play at for the Buddy Buddy Poffin. So it is unfortunate though, because not every Pokemon has 70 HP basics that they can use. So sometimes you're just kind of getting feasted on, like this is a very predatory card, and you kind of just have to take it on the chin sometimes. On the flip side though, this card is also incredibly fun to use because, you know, it's very strong early, it feels good to use in general, you know, it's flexible, it's got a lot of good synergies, like it's ancient tag, so you could use the booster capsule and Sada's Vitality, and like it still holds its weight in the late game too. Having snipe 60, 90, 120 snipe, these things are, it's very strong, it's very devastating. Both Boulder and Bolt had huge meta implications, whether it's just within their type or overarching, so it's hard to tell which one is actually better, but it's definitely a testament to Stellar Crown in that they had 2 cards that made such huge meta shakeups when most sets don't even have one. You thought we were done talking about broken, stupid cards, right? No, we're not done talking about stupid, broken cards, because for some reason Stellar Crown has more stupid, broken cards to show. The third really good card of Stellar Crown is Fan Rotom. This card streamlined colorless, which was already one of the best types in the game, so hard. It is so over centralizing for what the type does. Every colorless deck has to play Fan Rotom. It is just that good. It is so strong in general that it's had people clamoring ever since its release. It's been over a year now of people begging Fan Rotom to be banned, but it's not going to happen. So, why is it broken? Well, first of all, it has 70 HP, so it's Buddy Puff and searchable by pretty much every other metric you could possibly think of besides like Heavy Ball, but who's playing that? Fan Call. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less, reveal them, put them all into your hand, then shuffle your deck. This ability is comparable to some of the strongest setup supporters in the entire game, but it's on an ability, right? Not only that, but it also donks. It does 1 for 70, the perfect number. Of course, you have to have a stadium in play, and of course, Fan Call can only be used on your first turn, right? But that doesn't matter. This card is busted. It has so many strengths, and it's gotten to the point, since we've had post-Twin and DCE ban, as I've stated earlier, where a lot of colorless decks have just straight up said, Fan Rotom will take my first 2 prizes of the game, and it will probably come back later anyway. It is such a strong attacker, while still being the strongest setup Pokemon in the entire game. It outclasses supporters, which are supposed to be generally the strongest cards in the game. So now we have like a 3-way battle between Boulder, Bolt, and Fan Rotom for the best card in the set. And none of them make much leeway with each other because they're all very strong, right? It's so crazy. The strength of these cards should be distributed to like 5 sets, and it's just all in one. And most of this set is junk. Finally, we get to a pretty meta-defining supporter as well, which is Crispin. Now, this was another reason, if we throw back to Joltik, why Amazing Raikou got banned. Having this plus Joltik means you just get so much consistent energy search out of your deck, but there's way more synergies to add. I think every type in the game can make a reliable deck with Crispin in it, just because of how strong that acceleration can be. You know, Grass has Rainbow Grass, you can make that super easily. Colorless has both Rainbow Colorless with Kecleon, and also generally just uses multiple types of basic energy anyway. Obviously, this card is perfect synergy with Dragon. You have to play this card in Dragon. It has really strong synergy with Munkidori based Psychic decks because you're running both basic Dark and Psychic Energy. Being able to, you know, take your Psychic Colorless attackers and buff them in one turn without devalue, really convenient. The only issue with the card is that, you know, sometimes you get unlucky and you prize your other typed energies, or you have to use them early, or you have them sitting in hand and you don't have any left in deck. If you can't find 2 energy out of your deck, then you're playing Crispin for the same value as Energy Search, the item, would be, which is never played ever. Conventional deck building wisdom says that if you're going to be running a Crispin deck, either have more than just 2 different types of energy, or run 3 copies of the secondary energy, and obviously more copies of the main energy that you should be running, just so you have a safer chance to not get screwed by your prize cards. But yeah, I mean, Crispin is a great card. It buffed many archetypes and actually created a lot of archetypes too. Phenomenal card. To real quick round out the trainers, we have Gravity Gemstone, which is a cute disruptive tool card, you know, very clean, very intuitive, fun card to use. And then Kofu, nice off the wall draw support. Some decks really like it. It's probably not the best option, but if you have certain synergies that need it, like fossils for example, then yeah, go for it. To round out the video, I want to do a crazy top 5 strongest cards from Stellar Crown, right? Just to have a little thought experiment. Because this set had a lot of really good ones, you know, it had a ton of diamonds in the rough. At number 5, I think I'm going to give it to Joltik. I mean, it had very strong showings early when Stellar Crown first came out. It's still lingering around. It's still played in Standard. It's just generally a good card. And, you know, obviously you can see that by just how strong Jolting Charge is. At number 4, I'm going to give it to Crispin. We just talked a lot about it like a couple minutes ago, so I'm not going to say too much about it. Just, you know, very strong supporter, opened up the door to a lot of cool ideas, still is consistently being played, and is very, very meta-defining. Great card. Here we get to the real battle for the throne. I'm going to give number 3 to Iron Boulder. It is still a phenomenal card, incredibly strong card, but It's not super centralizing for its type. It's very strong. It's the best basic attacker in Psychic, but it's not a mandatory card. You can get away with not playing Iron Boulder. Obviously, under every circumstance, you probably should play Iron Boulder, but you can live without it. You won't see a very noticeable, decline in deck power without it. Okay, so I deliberated for a while myself. I asked some friends, and I'm going to give number 2 to Raging Bolt. So, Raging Bolt, incredibly strong card. It is necessary to play it in Dragon, in my opinion. It's so strong for the early game. It bolsters every part. It has so much strong synergy with Dragon in general. The issue is that it's a little combo oriented in a sense. You do need to hit these power cards for it to really roar. You need to have, your Crispin, your Guzman Hala, your Colress's Tenacity. You have to have these cards to hit your double dragons or hit your basic energies fast, to give it the tempo, to give it the gas it needs to overtake the game, right? Raging Bolt isn't your gas, it's just a really fast car that you're putting your gas into. You get what I'm saying? So for that reason, I'm going to give it number 2, although it is a very high number 2. So the glory of the best card in Stellar Crown goes to Fan Rotom. It is the gas and the car. Fan Rotom does everything. It sets up your board, it attacks for you, it's so easily searchable, it's recurable as a good attacker over the course of the game. There's so much I can say about this card. It is everything. It is the lifeblood of colorless at this point. If you are not playing this card in your colorless deck, you have done something very wrong. This card has been public enemy for like 6 months now, very consistently complained about. I mean, it's just so strong. You can't defend it, besides the fact of just saying that it doesn't create non-games like a lot of the other bans have, because it doesn't. It's just the absolute highest echelon that a card can be to be considered strong and not broken. So that's the overview of Stellar Crown. It's been a year, we've had a lot of time to think about it, and I still think this set sucks. I still think this is overall a bad set. No matter how strong these top 5 cards are, the power level falls off so significantly once you hit like spot 7 on that list, to where all these cards are just like unplayable almost. This set is probably the strongest showcase of power inequality we've ever seen in a Pokemon set, and I don't think we will see a set similar to this for a very long time, which is probably both a good and a bad thing. It's really nice to have these meta-defining cards to shake up types and shake up how you're supposed to play the game, but at the same time, opening this set was miserable. It was so miserable. You hit, the good cards and you're like, sweet and awesome, but most of these cards can be bought for like 10 cents on TCG Player. We're not ripping packs for these. There is no real demand for Stellar Crown because the inequality of the strength of the cards also affects, general ripping. You're opening this pack and you might get a Fan Rotom in the reverse holo slot, but every card before it is so horrendously unplayable, you still have a frown on your face. Unfortunately, if I had to give Stellar Crown a through F grade, it'd be like a D, right? There's no I in team, and there's no 10 cards carrying the other 165 in the set. It's not going to happen. Most of this set is garbage, so it's going to be treated like garbage. But even so, even with all this hate spewing out of my mouth about Stellar Crown, I'm still very grateful for what the set gave us for the GLC community. Thank you, Stellar Crown. Unfortunately, you're just not very good. And I'm hoping that they learned their lesson with this set, in that it's not good to just have all the starter deck cards shoved into one set just to say that they localize them, with no real other sets to balance it out. So, thank you for watching if you've gotten here the whole way. I'm thinking about making this kind of like a series where after 1 year passes from a set, I'll go and immediately make a retrospective video talking about the set. It's pretty fun going back and looking at all these cards and seeing like, oh, I remember using that. Oh, I remember being excited about that. And it can give you some fresh ideas for deck building. So hopefully it did. Hopefully this video helped you. And as always, good luck with your builds.